Well, thank you everybody for joining. I still see a bunch of you kind of just joining in here. So we're going to get started as we do have a fair bit to cover today. So today we're talking about Power BI. Power BI is one of those products that I think most of you have heard quite a lot about. It's not only used for GP, it's used for a variety of other products to help you sort of visualize data. So today is specifically to talk about what and how Power BI can help you do your jobs as it relates to GP. So very excited to get through this. It's been something that I know quite a few of you have been asking us to cover. A few housekeeping items, as always, before we begin. Most of our time today is going to be spent inside of Power BI. We're also going to be looking at GP and how to embed dashboards or charts from Power BI directly into GP to make things a bit easier. And unfortunately, we cannot hear you. So if you have a question or a concern, feel free to write that in the question box, and we're going to come to it at the end. We'll try and get through all the questions, depending on how many there are. If we can't get to your question, we'll come back to you after the webinar and make sure that we get you that answer. Last thing is we are going to be giving away, as always, some Tim Hortons and Dunkin' Donuts gift cards at the end of the session. So stay tuned, and maybe we'll get rolling. So with that said, let's talk about quickly who we are. So we've been around for over 18 years. We've been doing GP for many versions. We've seen many releases. We've seen lots of new enhancements and changes within the product. We're a GP partner based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, for those of you who do not work with us. And we do everything from new implementations to support, training. We do it all. We also have created our own software as a service based version of GP, which is labeled GP 365, which sort of takes away the complexity of version upgrades. And we've created some cool products that layer on top of it to help you do some GP functions a little bit easier, budget center. One thing I did want to mention is if any of you are sort of looking for some guidance or some help, but don't have budget for, a partner or anything like that, we provide 5 free hours of GP support to anyone who selects us as their partner of record, which is basically a form that you have to fill out with Microsoft. So it's a way of kind of getting free GP support each year without needing to kind of budget for that expense. So if you're a small shop, you don't need a lot, might be a cool way of getting some support. And of course, you're helping us out a whole lot too, so we appreciate that. And thank you to all of our existing customers who are on this phone, which I know is quite a few of you by looking at the participants. So with that, let's get started on Power BI. So as you heard, I do have Sam with me, maybe just quickly. He's going to be taking us on a spin through of Power BI, as well as, what are we doing, GP 2018? Sam, is that using the latest flavor?
Yep. Yes.
All right. So let's start today by talking about what Power BI is. For those of you who do not know, maybe you've never seen it or you've heard it but aren't too sure of what it's capable of. So to start with the Microsoft definition, it's the suite of analytics tools delivering insights throughout your organization. So if that makes sense to you, then awesome. For those of you who want a more sort of practical or real world example, it's a solution that enables you to connect a variety of other products such as GP, your CRM, to a platform that allows you to visualize data and build really beautiful charts and dashboards. So an example would be if you're using Dynamics GP and you're using another CRM system, we'll say Dynamics CRM just to keep it very pro Microsoft today, you can connect both of those to Power BI and create charts or reports from both of them. An example would be maybe you want to visualize your pipeline versus your actual by territory year over year. So you can do some really cool things when you tie in a variety of data sources. And keep in mind, it doesn't just have to be GP and CRM or your ERP product and CRM. You can connect it to a whole bunch of other data sources and data warehouses. So it's a really cool way of building beautiful charts and dashboards. The other advantage of Power BI is that it has over 100 sort of out-of-the-box pre-built data sources, which means you don't need to spend a lot of money or time to get this up and running, which is, of course, the big win over a lot of the other sort of analytic tools that are out there. So they've done a great job of that. All of these charts and dashboards can also be viewed from the Power BI mobile, from mobile perspective. So if your, executives are looking for maybe reports or dashboards on the go, this can be a great way of satisfying that requirement without a whole lot of work from you. Now, one thing I did want to mention here is a feature that we see as pretty impressive, which is the ability to do sort of real-time language search. So Power BI will actually listen to your voice or what you type and crunch data as you're typing it. So for example, if you spoke to Power BI and said, show me my sales year over year by territory, it would crunch that as you're talking, as Sam is going to show in a little bit, and actually show you that data. So it's a really powerful system. The last point on this slide to mention is the Dynamics GP Content Pack. So this is a way of using Power BI out of the box with a whole bunch of reports built, ready to go specifically for GP. So if you were to use Power BI without a content pack, you wouldn't have any sort of reports or charts, so to speak. You would have to build all of those yourself, and not that you need to be a developer to do that. That's the whole advantage of Power BI, but you still would need to put that time in and effort in. With the content pack, you're getting a whole bunch ready to go right out of the gate. So it's a really awesome way of starting with Power BI. And we'll talk about the costs as well. It's just this makes it, sort of feasible for any organization, no matter how small or how big, to kind of get started into this visualization and data analytics product. So with that, let's maybe move on. I think I'm going to hand it over to Sam here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, John. So as John mentioned earlier, he's actually taken away some of my thunder, if you will, because he talked about some of the cool features that I want to talk about. But I mean, I think it's very good because what I'll do is I'll go into more detail. So it starts off with, of course, when you're using Power BI, there's something called Power BI Web, which allows you to design and run reports. So if you're using that, it actually doesn't take up a license, so it frees you up from doing that. So it frees up one license, and that means somebody else can just kind of go in and do data entry or whatever they need to, and it doesn't hold that up. Okay. The other option is it allows you to actually customize your dashboards. Now, as I go through the presentation, you'll see various ways that I can customize the dashboard and some of the different things that make that dashboard. And the other features I want to talk about, some of the more important features I want to talk about. So as John mentioned earlier, there's the real-time language. You can talk to Power BI. That's essentially just something called the Q&A functionality as well, which you can actually type in your questions and Power BI will answer those questions for you. The other option is to use something called Quick Insights, which enables Power BI to look at the data that you've imported and make some quick conclusions on them. So it kind of takes away some of that basic analysis for you. So instead of having to start from scratch and do the analysis to get certain conclusions, it kind of does that for you so that you can just kind of move on and do the more advanced analysis. All right. And lastly, Power BI has the ability to embed the dashboards within GP. So for example, what that does is it puts those dashboards within GP and allows you to drill down and kind of see what they look like. So with that being said, let's go ahead and have a look at Power BI. Let's see what it actually looks like. So as you can see from my screen here, Power BI, I'm using Power BI Web at the moment. And whenever you open a Power BI, you'll be greeted with this screen. So we'll start off with the navigation of Power BI, as most of the users will be spending most of their time here in terms of editing the reports or reviewing the reports. This is probably the best. It's why to kind of get accustomed to it. So on the left-hand side there, you've got your panel, which contains your favorites, your recently viewed dashboards, your dashboard apps, the dashboards being shared with you, as well as your workspaces. Now, workspaces for Power BI mean something a little bit different. Workspaces are actually containers for dashboards, reports. They're containers for dashboards, and then the dashboards themselves contain reports, and reports themselves are based on the workbooks as well as the data sets in Power BI. Think of them like separate floors in the building. So for example, you've got the first floor for accounting, you got the second floor for HR, and then another floor for sales, and so on and so forth. That's exactly what these dashboards essentially will represent. And you could have access to multiple floors if you're wearing multiple hats. All right, but of course, businesses don't always just work in silos. There's a lot of collaboration and there's a lot of teamwork involved. As such, Power BI understands it, and there's actually two types of workspaces. So if you want to have your own workspace, that would be this here, which is just my workspace here, which of course will show you just the workspaces that you have here. This is your personal workspace for any Power BI user, and it allows you to create and work with your own content. Only you have access to this workspace. You can share dashboards and reports from your workspace. However, if you want to collaborate on dashboards or reports, then you need to create something called app workspaces, which is a little bit different. So if you click on here, this is actually will be your app workspaces. And what they allow you to do is a Power BI app workspace essentially is a collection of dashboards and reports built in to deliver KPIs for your organization. An organization uses this to collaborate the reports with colleagues and see and share the content amongst the team. These are also the places where you will create, publish, and manage apps for your organization. So, for example, if you wanted to create a specific report or a specific app, which is tracking, let's say, revenue over a year for specific sites, you could create that here, and you could give access to certain individuals within the organization. They're like staging areas or containers for the content that will make up the Power BI app. So
and I just want to jump in real quick here, Sam, before you continue. So I just want everybody to remember sort of that piece that Sam just mentioned about sharing and collaborating workspaces, as that plays into a critical conversation that we're going to be having around licensing and whether this is free or not based on that functionality. So just kind of keep note of that workspace and collaboration note that Sam just mentioned. So yeah, sorry, Sam, keep rolling.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. No, thank you, John. So this is essentially just what you have on the left here. Now that we understand the different kind of options that we had, let's talk a little bit about how to actually move about in Power BI. So on the left-hand side here, of course, you've got the different sides. Think of it like GP. You've got your little series at the bottom here, and then within the body of the screen here, I guess you've got the specific window. So if I click this, it's actually going to open up this dashboard. And you, of course, will see all of these reports that are currently there. So we'll get to this in a minute. Now, if I wanted to go back, I can, of course, just click on My Workspace. So at the top here, just go back and click My Workspace, and it'll take me to the home tab again. All right. And if you had specific apps you wanted to see, you can click on this little square arrow, and you'll see all the apps that you've got there. And of course, you can embed them and add them to your Power BI. On the top hand side here, you can see here, because I'm using the trial, it's just letting me know how much days I have left. Usually when you're using the full version, you won't have this, so there'll be nothing here. You've got the notification panel here if there's any changes that have been made. And then, of course, you've got the settings. So if you want to see the content pack, what it contains, manage gators and settings, you can see that here. And, of course, you've got the download. So if you wanted to download some of the items, you could use this option here to download the specific dashboards or the specific reports within it. There's other ways of downloading it, but this is just a quick and easy way. Then if you need any help, you can click on the question mark, and it'll give you access to the manuals and community. If you've got an idea, click on the smiley face. You can submit an idea or even an issue that you've come across. And lastly, of course, if you have to log out, just click on your name, and you can sign out there. Okay. So now that we kind of know how to move about within Power BI, let's go ahead and do some analysis. Let's go ahead and come up with a scenario and see how we can use that and see how Power BI can help us. So we're going to keep it short and simple, not too crazy of a scenario. The scenario that we have is you're a controller and you've been asked to prepare a report for the board. The board has asked you to show which business unit had the highest revenue for the year and which quarter was the most profitable for that business unit. So let's see what Power BI can do to help us with this. So let's go back into Power BI. Okay, so because I am the controller in this case, I have access to multiple dashboards. That's why you'll see multiple here. Now, of course, you can restrict and limit who does or does not have access. But in this case, because I'm reviewing because I need to prepare a report to show the board which divisions were most profitable, I'm going to go into the customer profitability sample. So if you just go and click on this, it actually will take you in the report. Now it will take you within that dashboard. Now within this dashboard, you've got multiple reports, and you can of course scroll down and see which report will most likely match that description. So I can see here, none of these actually will be there. So for example, I'm looking for revenue variance to budget. That's not going to help me. I've got total revenue. That seems promising, but it doesn't have it broken down by division or even by quarter, even by year. So what I can do is I can actually, drill down into this or export this to Excel and do that analysis myself, or I can have Power BI work for me. So what I can do is I can ask Power BI a question. Now let's go ahead and utilize that functionality. And to ask a question, you just simply click here and you start typing your question. So now one thing I want to mention is I'm confident that by the end of this webinar, everyone will be in love with Power BI. So much so that Power BI is like your significant other. If when you've been with somebody for so long, you start to fill in your sentences. That's exactly how it's been. So I've been preparing for this webinar, and let's just say Power BI knows exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for total revenue by business unit. So as soon as I start to type in, Power BI offers me those suggestions. So for example, I just TOT, it says, okay, do you want to select this option, that option? So I'm looking for total revenue. Okay, so it's given me that first report that was on my dashboard, which of course is just this number. But I want to see, this revenue by business unit. So if I just begin typing again, you can see here, it gives me a list of options. So I can do it by business unit, scenario, product, and customer, and so on and so forth. Because I'm looking for it by business unit, I can just, either continue typing, or I can just select that from the dropdown, and it populates that information for me. Now, it gives you a quick little chart and just basically because the data is already there, it knows what you're looking for. You just have to ask the right questions. Now, this is very helpful because it lets me know that this business unit has the highest revenue for this year. But this, of course, is still limited. We're trying to see which business unit has the highest revenue per quarter. So what you can do is you can actually add additional fields and additional filters. To do that, on the right-hand side here, you can expand this menu here, and you've got the filters, and of course, over here, you've also got the abilities to change the you've got the ability to change the visuals. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and just add some more information. So if you know what you're looking for, you can type it in the legend or the axis, or alternatively, you can use these fields here. So because I'm looking for the quarters, I'm going to expand that section for dates, and I'll find quarters here. I can do it by year, quarter, period, and so on and so forth. So as soon as I click this, it's going to add that portion. You can see that it splits the information, lets me know, how much the sales were by quarter. So for example, over here, this division has actually been outperforming every other division in every quarter, regardless of, has been outperforming all the other in all quarters, and it has the highest revenue. So this is an easy way for Power BI to kind of give you that information. Now, this visual is great, but maybe I don't necessarily like this visual. I want to change the visualization. You can change it to a different type of graphic. If you want to change it to this, you could do that. Just by simply clicking on the visual, you can see the information. So this lets me know, by doing this, I can see the performance of the divisions quarter over quarter, and you can see what's going on. So this is another easy way for you to kind of get that information and prepare for your board. So now that I've added this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add this, or I'm going to pin this to my dashboard. By pinning this to my dashboard, what I'm doing, what I get the option to do is to add this to my existing dashboard. So the next time I open this up, it's going to ask me, hey, so next time when I open this up, I don't have to type in that question and do that analysis again. I can just save this. So I'm going to add it to my existing dashboard. Just go ahead and hit pin, and the next time I go back to my dashboard, it'll be there. You'll notice here it also asks you if you want to edit the way it's going to be displayed. So for example, if one of the board members wanted to see this on their phone, or somebody else wanted to see this on their phone, you can also edit that. But let's just go ahead and see it on the workspace first. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. So if I click this, it takes me back to the original page, and you've got all those reports there. And if I scroll to the bottom, you'll see it's got that report right at the bottom. You have the option of customizing these, and you can move and you can drag and drop these reports as you like. So if I wanted to bring this right to the top, I can just simply drag it, take it to the top. I can pick and choose how I want the information to be displayed. So, this seems pretty appropriate. This makes sense. Lets me know my gross margin percentage, my total revenue, and so on and so forth. By clicking on any one of these reports, it'll just drill down and it'll take you into the details. So in this case, because I've done this, it's already giving me that question. So like, for example, if I wanted to click on a different report, just by simply clicking down, it'll show me the information. It'll show me the data pertaining to it. So now, in this case, it's showing me the team scorecard, and it gives me the options to make additional changes or apply additional filters. Now, this one over here, if I wanted to pick a specific executive and see how they were doing, I could go ahead and select that, and it'll display the information, and it will change it accordingly. At the top here, you've got the option to reset it to default, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and reset. Now let's go back to the sample. So let's, again, going back with our scenario. Now that I've got the report, I want to print this out because I got to give this to my, give this to the board. So to do that, simply click on these three arrows here, and it'll give you a little option that says more options. From here, I'll go ahead and export it to Excel, and it's going to export all this information to Excel. And from there, I can go ahead and simply print it, and so on and so forth. All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, how do you want this dashboard or these reports to be displayed when you're viewing it from your phone? So I'm going to open this up, but we'll go ahead and finish up the phone view first, and I'll just kind of show you the report, quickly show you the report that was generated. So we've got our total revenue, and it's just spitting out that plain information, letting us know total revenue and which quarter we have. Of course, you can perform additional analysis and see how you can perform additional analysis and create additional charts, but this just gives you the raw data dump just so that you have something that you can submit to your board. Okay, so now I want to see how this will look like, just to kind of give you a flavor of what you'll see when you log in through your mobile. If you click on this drop down, you'll see the phone view. So of course it condenses the screens a little bit and lets you, and because it's not as much there's not as much space on your phone. You just simply have to scroll down. So you can see this is how it'll be displayed on there. And at the bottom here, of course, we've got all those reports, and you can just gives you an option. This just gives you an idea of what the dashboard will look like when you're viewing it on your phone. Now at this point, this hasn't been added to my phone view, so I can go ahead and just add this by clicking that little pin at the top there, and it adds it at the bottom. And of course, same thing, just like with the original, and just like with the web version, you can go ahead and pick and choose where you want to drop this. If I wanted to drop that there, you can do that, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go back and just put it back into web view. So this is how you could use Power BI to your advantage. Now, this is one of the features that we wanted to talk about, which was the ability to ask questions. And because Power BI fills in that data for you, it's more powerful because the data set's already there, the information's already there. You just have to ask the right questions. All right. So now another neat feature I want to talk about is the ability to get quick insights. Quick insights are essentially conclusions that Power BI can draw upon from the data that you've given. So to view the insights, just like how we went to export the information to Excel, the report that you want to view the insight for, simply go ahead and click on the three arrows. So for example, we've already done this, so we won't view the insights on that. Let's say we want to look at the number of customers, provide some insights on our number of customers. You can click on the three arrow, and from here, you can select View Insight. As soon as you select View Insight, Power BI will actually start analyzing the data and will report some conclusions on it. Additionally, what you could do is you could simply click on this, which puts it into something called focus mode. And in here, what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to see that information broken down. So this is just your insight broken down into more detail. But if you wanted Power BI to just give you very high level, quick little summaries, all you have to do is just go back to the report, click on the three arrows, and click View Insights. So it's going to start calculating or searching for the insights for the number of customer, and it's going to provide you some conclusions that you can draw upon, that it can draw upon for your customers. Okay, so now of course this is very helpful if you're doing if you have like a monthly meeting and you've got to explain the variances, or you're evaluating the performance of an individual or a division over another. This will be very helpful in seeing all of that right away. So for example, we've got here, you can see here that this executive has the highest number of customers. So, maybe something to keep in mind. And of course, you can pin these insights just so that you have them available. That way, you can see these right away every time you run these, every time you come into these dashboards and view the reports. Okay.
So you're saying Carlos needs a raise, is what you're saying.
Basically. Well, Carlos and Andrew are doing pretty good. So yeah, this is what the insights will allow you to do, and it'll allow you to look into more. It'll allow you to see where there's an opportunity for improvements, or where there's inefficiencies, or where, as John mentioned earlier, where there's an opportunity to reward an individual, or in my previous example, a division. So it's kind of like think of it as you've got Power BI working for you as an employee without you necessarily having to pay them as an employee. So it draws upon those conclusions for you, and it does a lot of the basic analysis. So from here, of course, if you want to drill down, you can click this, and it'll drill down into it more. It'll bring up the information, and then of course from here it gives you a little quick summary, and then it again does more calculations. So as I mentioned earlier, if you just click on those reports from the dashboard, it gives you the details. So over here, it drew conclusions or one-liners for specific data sets. But if I click on it, it'll give you conclusions.
So, sorry, Sam, I'm just going to jump in. I was going to say, one thing maybe to mention here is I think all of these charts are part of the content pack, right? Is any of this custom or items that you've created on your own?
No, this is all custom.
Right. So one of the things I guess to mention here is
I meant my mistake. I meant this is all part of the content pack. My mistake. I missed.
Right. Yeah. So one of the cool things here is everything we're showing is part of that content pack, which essentially means that you'll get started with this same sort of set of charts and data out of the box. So one of the interesting things you can do once you've implemented Power BI, which is not a big work effort, is you can go through and sort of view all the insights, as Sam was mentioning. Just interesting data, might give you some perspective that you never thought about. It's definitely interesting when you first implement Power BI just to see what it thinks of your data and what kind of information it can give you back. So I just wanted to mention that we're not showing you the Rolls Royce of Power BI here and, showing you all these custom charts and dashboards that we spent months building. This is, basically what you're going to get out of the box, so to speak, with the content pack. So keep rolling, Sam. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, for sure. No, awesome. And actually that brings me to my next point, where I actually wanted to show you how you can get these custom reports easily. As soon as you have access to Power BI Web, you can even get that information. So I'll jump into that next, but I wanted to talk about a little something before I finish here. So as soon as I drill down to that customer report, you've got your industry margins. But if you look at the bottom here, just like Excel, you've got different tabs. So if you wanted to see the scorecard for your executive, of course, you can drill down and see, who's doing what, who's doing how good, and so on and so forth. And over here, it's just drilling down to Alan. So you can use this, of course, to, reward or I guess have like an opportunity to talk with the person who may not be doing as well. So again, same thing, just like with anything else, you've got filters here as well, so you can add additional filters and see what you're looking at, and you can change the information as you like. So if you wanted to change the year to something else, you could also do that. All right, so this is some of the information that you have. So let me go back and show you one more thing before I show you how you can get these sample dashboards as soon as you have access to Power BI Web. So the other types of reports within Power BI are something called Excel format reports. So I know that my target versus actual was created in Excel. So if I drill down, I can see the Excel version of this report. Now, again, some users are more comfortable with Excel and might not necessarily be as comfortable using a web application. So this will feel a little bit more like home, because these are essentially pivot tables and pivot charts created for you in an Excel format. So for example, if I wanted to see the information, let's say I want to see all my sales in New York. Let's see if I select New York, it's going to work on it. It's going to get that information. It's going to show me that these two executives are in that region, and this is how their products are doing, this is how their performance is. And of course, just like with any other report, you've got different tabs. So if I want to see on margins, I could see the margins as well. I can see the cost of goods sold, and all this information, of course, can be reset. So, if I don't ever want to see everything, just go ahead and reset, just like any other pivot table. You could drill down further into the detailed information and see it. And of course, you have the option of exporting this to Excel, just like you did before, just to kind of give you more options as to what you can do with the data. So let's go back to the home page. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about were these tabs at the top here. So you've got your dashboards, you've got your reports. This just lets you know, because there are so many reports that are listed in here, it's not listing out them, it's just listing out the dashboard. But what you have here are workbooks. Workbooks are essentially what goes into making those reports. They're kind of the data, and then of course the last thing you've got is your data sets. Data sets are essentially the different sources that you import the information from. So for example, if you're connecting to GP, SQL, or what have you, this is where those would be included. And you have the option of viewing usages and updating them, and even sharing them and changing some of the settings. So for example, if I was in reports, I wanted to change some of the settings relating to who has access. If I wanted to change some of the settings in regards to what's related and what's being shared, I can do all that option. I can do all those information here. So I can run quick insights from there. I can analyze information in Excel. I can share it, or of course I can see how popular it is, or how heavily used this particular type of dashboard or report is. All right. So now that we've got all this, I'm going to go ahead and give you a sample one. So to do that, simply at the left-hand side here, go ahead and click Get Data. From here, if you scroll to the bottom here, Power BI provides you a lot of these sample information. So if I go ahead and click Samples, it'll give you all of these different dashboards that you've got. So I'm already seeing customer profitability, but if you wanted to see a different type of sample reports, you can go ahead and just click that. So for example, let's go ahead and select the retail analysis sample. All you have to do is simply go ahead and hit connect, and it's going to connect that data set. And now I'm going to have access to the retail analysis sample data here. So, okay, so I've already had it. So let's go ahead and get another one. And you can add all of these if you like, just to kind of see what the different information is. So I'll get the sales and marketing, and again, just simply hit connect. It'll create it. It'll create all those samples. It'll create it for you. And by simply clicking here, I can drill down and see what are the different types of reports within this dashboard. Okay, so again, you've got the information, and if you have specific questions you'd like to ask, you can simply type them in, or alternatively just drill down into any one of these reports and see what information is being made up. Now, for example, if I didn't like this visual, I can simply click within the visual, and I can make some adjustments, and it'll change the visuals for you. But essentially, this is what you need to do in order to get access to the different data sets. So it's kind of breaking down as to where my sales are coming from, and so on and so forth. All right. So that essentially is Power BI Web. Now I'm going to show you, now that I've got this, how can I get access to this, or how can I get access to these reports within GP. So let's go ahead and switch to GP. Now within GP, you can add these reports on your home tab. So you can see I'm already on my home tab here. By simply clicking the Customize This Page button, I'm going to go ahead and enable Power BI. Now, one thing to note is if you select Show All, there's a possibility that it'll take a little bit of time to load. So that could affect, how much information is displayed. That's why I recommend to click on this blue arrow here, and pick the reports that you want to click the reports that you want to review. So this is my dashboard here, and these are the current reports that are being displayed. So right now in my dashboard, these various dashboards are being displayed. This is based on my connection to my Power BI Web. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some changes. I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these, and we'll just add specific reports. Okay, so let's start off with our customer profitability sample, and I'm going to get the I'm going to get the report that I created. All right, so I'm just going to find total revenue, insert that. And of course, you can insert the reports from various sources. So if I wanted to see not only the customer, but I wanted to see how my retail is doing, or how my HR department is doing, or what have you, you can add various reports over into by selecting them and clicking insert. So let's go ahead and get some information from our HR as well. So maybe you want to see, let's add this report, active employees, yeah, and yeah. Okay, so once I've added these reports, of course, I can move them up or down if I wanted if I wanted them to be displayed in a certain order. Now, this would be more appropriate if you're not showing all of them, which is, so once you're done, you're going to click OK. If I have enabled this option, show all, I don't have to worry about it. It'll kind of show me everything, and of course, I can adjust them. But if you don't select this option to show all, that ordering of the reports will essentially determine what format it's using in terms of like this report shows first and so on and so forth. So for now, I haven't added too many, so I'm going to go ahead and just select show all, click OK. All right, and it's just going to start loading that information for us. So it's going to go ahead and go through and connect and ensure that everything's connected, which it already is. I'm just going to start getting the information. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just adjust the I'm just going to modify like how I want these reports to be reviewed. So I want to see this one at the top here, so on and so forth. And I can just kind of see the information. All right. And of course, I have the option of adding more reports as I'd like, but these are probably the most important reports. These are some of the reports that, for example, these are the reports that I probably want to see, but of course you can change them based on the role that you have selected. So for example, if you have an HR person, they might not necessarily need to see all of this information. They just want to see the information relating to the HR dashboard. So for them, an HR dashboard will display all that information. All right. So that is essentially Power BI. Now we've covered how to go through the various dashboards, how to add a sample data, how to use the various functionalities within Power BI, and how to enable that within GP. So I think at this point, I'm going to pass it over to John, who will talk more about the pricing and kind of let you know how it compares.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Sam. Excellent. Very cool stuff. Just maybe before I jump into pricing and comparison, one of the sort of, I guess you could say, reasons that we hear of people looking for Power BI is, oftentimes executives or management is kind of looking for more data, right? That's, of course, what everyone wants. We want more data, more data. This is a great way of giving them that data in a format that they can view on their own. So there's no need to, have to print anything. You can simply give them access to Power BI and they can sort of view it anytime they want. You can set up a workspace, as Sam was mentioning, that has all the data that each of the management teams would care about. And then anytime their heart desires, they want to look at it, there it is right in front of them. It's also a great sort of, I guess you could say boardroom style backdrop. If you're having a monthly or quarterly meeting, you've established all your metrics. It's just a really great way of visualizing that data. So let's talk about pricing and how much work effort this thing is to get installed. So the first thing to mention is it's now actually not complicated, the differences between the free version and the pro version. It used to be. So I just wanted to point that out, because if you go start Googling the difference between the versions, you may find old articles that was comparing the two. It used to be that the free version only updated every so often. There was a whole bunch of other restrictions, which basically made everyone have to buy the pro version. Microsoft has changed that recently. So now the main and pretty much the only real difference between the free version of the product and the pro version is the ability to share. So the ability to share dashboards, collaborate. Now, for most of you, you're probably saying, well, without sharing this with my colleagues or my executives, what good is it? And, I guess I would say, yes, that's generally true. And of course, if that's what you're looking to do, definitely look at the pro version so that you can collaborate on those charts and dashboards and share them amongst yourselves. It's not a huge cost. So the pro version is $12.20 a user per month, and that's Canadian. So it's obviously a little bit less for the US folk on the call. Now, if you have Office 365 E5, I think it's only E5, you actually have the pro version included for free. So, yay. For anyone out there who is looking at a large number of users, like over 1,000, then you can look at what's called the premium version, which is sort of, I guess you could say, more compelling pricing model for those of you that need a whole lot of them. But either way, I mean, we're not talking about a lot of money here for getting access to some really cool data, especially when you compare it to the amount of development costs and things like that, and implementation costs that you would have to go through to implement another analytics tool. So it's a really cost-effective way of doing it. Now, in terms of labor investment to implement this product, so installing Power BI and the GP content pack that we showed today takes about 4 hours. That's it. So about a half day. For all of you that are on this session, if we're your partner and you want us to do it, we'll do it for free. No charge, just as a thank you to all of you. So just reach out to me after the call, and we'll set that up, and we can get it programmed for you guys. For any of you that are not our current or we're not your current partner, you can still reach out to me. I'll try and help you through it, or of course you can convert over, and we're happy to do so for you. Now let's maybe quickly talk about, I guess, Sam, did I miss anything? Does that cover the pricing side pretty well?
Yeah, I think
that's good. All right.
Sorry, I had one thing I wanted to add.
Yes.
Earlier when I mentioned when I was mentioning the workspaces, with regards to the app workspaces, if members need access to Power BI Pro license, the people who create essentially the app need access to Pro. But if you're consuming it, again, this goes back to the whole sharing model. If you're consuming it, meaning you're just running and just kind of seeing it, you don't necessarily need a Pro license. You can simply just log in and have access. However, in order for it to be shared, you have to buy a license. So that's I guess a little bit of a caveat.
Yeah, and actually one thing I wanted to mention is the way that we typically suggest implementing Power BI. So if you're looking at this and you're like, this looks really great, but I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or if we're going to use it a lot, get the free version to start, play around with it, get it set up, and once you're sort of content and you've proved the value, then you can pay for the pro version, so to speak. But that's how we would suggest doing it. Let's start with the basic version. Then once you roll it out to other users, or you want to start collaborating and using, as Sam said, those other areas, then think about it. But to start, it might be a great way of just getting your feet wet, so to speak, in the product and not having to spend any money whatsoever. So yeah. Okay. With that, let's move on to the next. So very quickly here, we have another webinar coming up September 13th, and this is on how to prepare and budget for a GP upgrade. So this is kind of an interesting one. We haven't done anything like this before. It's mainly going to be around, we're going to give you an upgrade checklist. So anytime you need to go through a GP upgrade, you sort of know what to look into in advance. We're also going to be releasing a calculator, which is the first of its kind, which will sort of predict how much your upgrade is going to cost. So that'll be a pretty interesting tool to release as well. There's, I think, quite a few spots left. What does it say? 35 spots. So there's still some room there. Please join if you think that might be of benefit. Even if you're on the latest version, it may help you for future versions. And the last thing here before we wrap up is I wanted to get everyone's perspective. Our last topic it actually came from someone in one of the last sessions. I think somebody had asked for, or a few people had asked for that, and that was kind of the winning session was GP upgrade. So what I want to ask now is, which of these topics would you like us to cover in a future sort of session? So one of the items that I've received a lot of emails about is advanced management reporter or intermediate management reporter. So they wanted a 1 or 2 hour session on that. So just give everybody a second here to enter their inputs. And if you think all of these topics don't interest you, send me an email. And my email will be on the last slide, and send me sort of what you think we should do. This really helps me. So thank you to everybody who's voting. I see a lot of you doing it. It's extremely helpful. All right. So Jason looks like he was right. Management Reporter is killing it.
Here we go.
Oh, you're there.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're creeping in the background.
I wouldn't miss Sam's Power BI work.
Wow. Okay, so that's cool. We got a lot of votes. I think we got probably 50 or a lot of votes. Okay, very cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to wrap this up. Very cool. Okay, so last few things, then we're going to do the giveaway. We posted the last session to the resource section of our site. So a few of you emailed me asking for that link. It's now up there, so go check it out. Today's session will be uploaded in probably a week, only because I'm quite busy for the next few days. I know, slacker, but it'll be up there next week. So if any of you seen today's session, you're thinking it might be something, for your organization to look at, share that video, let them know, what it's all about, and you can make the decision on whether it's worth it. Last slide. All right, so we're going to do the giveaways, but before I do that, I just wanted to ask everyone for a favor. So if you guys get a second or get a minute to leave us a review and let us know sort of what you think of these, it's extremely helpful to me and to us as a company to help us get that awareness out there. So if you just Google ADAM Corporation, leave us a Google review letting us know if you liked it. At least I hope they liked it. But if you didn't, feel free to leave that too. Sam and I's feelings may be hurt, but we really appreciate the feedback, and we appreciate everybody joining. And this is a way of kind of getting our name out there and meeting more of companies like you guys that love the product and are looking for better ways to use it. So big thank you to everybody for joining. Let's give away some stuff. Okay, so I have 3 giveaways today. The first one is going to Barry S. The next one is going to Jeffrey C. Is that? Hey, Jeff. Hope things are well. And the last one is going to Vince T. So a big thank you to everybody again. We really appreciate the support. Please leave us a review if you get a minute. And I hope everybody has a really great Thursday. We'll talk to you guys soon. And if anyone has any questions or you want us to set up Power BI, just shoot me an email. All of our existing customers will do that for free. And for any of you that just need some help, shoot me a note. We're happy to do so. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sam. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys.